to be doing. Like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these
please
pieces
educate me on
Sure.
What
so an
the
audit is
difference
exactly what you just described,
yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now
it
is a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have.
All right, folks, let's dive into a pressing issue many of us might not be closely watching, but really, we should be. It's Jon Stewart, the fearless commentator we all know, taking on a mammoth institution, the U.S. government. And not just any part of it, but the Pentagon, which, let's face it, it's kind of a big deal. Stewart, has been calling out issues like these for years, and this is no different. His latest confrontation was with former Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks, and honestly, it's something that should get everyone's attention. Now imagine this, huge sums of money, like billions, being funneled into a system that's failing to meet even the basic needs of those in the military. It's shocking, right? Stewart didn't hold back as he questioned the accountability of our government, pointing out how basic necessities are still unmet despite an enormous defense budget under the Biden administration.
That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So, in my world,
yeah,
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this. But I think it's a tough argument to make that an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good... we should be talking... I mean, well, I'm trying to understand where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really bother you.
I mean, seriously, how can an $850 billion budget not translate to tangible support for our troops? It's enough to make anyone angry. The bizarre inefficiency and the government's failure to pass audits show us plain and simple the waste. We all need to be talking about this, so if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'm really trying to up the subscriber count to 1,000 by the end of February. Your support truly keeps me going. See, hitting that goal would mean the world to me. Thank you all, and stay tuned for more insights. Okay, so let's just jump right back into where we left off with Jon Stewart's fiery exchange with Kathleen Hicks concerning the Pentagon's sprawling and, honestly, puzzling budget management, or mismanagement, if we're calling it what it is. This is exactly where things really start to unfold and get intriguing. Picture Stewart sitting there, clearly frustrated. He's pressing Hicks on the need for accountability. He's challenging her, and the whole system really, on the Pentagon's colossal budget and why some essential needs are still unmet. How do you allocate such massive amounts of taxpayer money without clear, transparent accountability? That's the burning question Stewart throws on the table. In an unusual yet illuminating moment, he bluntly questions why the Department of Defense still can't pass a proper audit. People, this isn't just a glitch in the system. It's an outright failure. A failure to track where billions of dollars go, a failure that has persisted for years without any meaningful correction. Stewart points out that such inefficiency directly affects the most vulnerable members of our military. Now, let's take a closer look at Stewart's concerns, specifically about food insecurity among military personnel. This issue is not new, but the fact that it persists even with an inflated budget is mind-boggling. Stewart is quick to highlight that while the Pentagon enjoys substantial increases in funding, even after major conflicts or war periods come to an end, basic provisions for troops remain elusive.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell me that story. Tell me how you're thinking about that.
When I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services, and then that department that got that, I mean, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry. And if that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. Like, that's just weird to me.
It's as if the more money that comes their way, the less oversight there seems to be. And here's the catch. Hicks attempts to defend the budgetary decisions and how funds are allocated. But as Stewart continuously points out, there's a serious disconnect between what is allocated at the top and the dire needs at the bottom. Hicks tries to assure him, saying audits and transparency are priorities, but to be fair, the track record speaks volumes against these claims. Stewart does something really noteworthy here by linking the rampant misuse of funds to broader themes of corruption and inefficiency in government bureaucracies. He argues that it's systematic, an entrenched corruption where funds disappear into administrative black holes, all while rank-and-file soldiers struggle to make ends meet. Let's be honest, this should strike a chord with anyone who values accountability. I mean, the very fact that military families are dependent on food assistance programs, yet the Pentagon receives unchecked budget hikes, is not just disturbing, it's maddening. What does this say about the priorities of those in power? Stewart's grilling reveals some uncomfortable truths. His aim is not just to grill Hicks, but to push for a real discussion about reform. During the exchange, Hicks, almost seemingly cornered, tries to redirect conversations or provide vague answers, but Stewart keeps bringing it back to the simple question: what tangible outcomes can be shown for that vast sum of money? But here's the thing. This isn't just about one person failing to provide answers. It's a snapshot of a broader issue of how government entities become bloated and unaccountable, losing sight of the very people they are supposed to serve. And really, this isn't only about the military. It's indicative of more extensive government functions, of the red tape, of the wasted resources. The exchange encapsulates more than just numbers and budgets. It's a glare into a system that so often feels impenetrable to the average citizen. We're left asking ourselves if there's any hope for a reformation. Can Stewart's candid inquisition ignite any substantial change? Because, like it or not, without accountability, waste becomes rampant, and inefficiencies thrive. Besides all this seriousness, remember, Stewart still manages to infuse some humor into this intense discussion, which honestly is so needed when dealing with such frustrations. So, folks, after hearing all about this exchange between Jon Stewart and Kathleen Hicks, what do you think? How does this story affect your view of government spending and accountability? Do you feel frustrated about how taxpayer money is being managed? Let me know in the comments below. Let's discuss this. Your thoughts really matter, and I'd love to hear your perspective on whether you think change is possible in the current system. Thanks for tuning in.